Hello everyone, I am the storyteller, and tonight I am here just to help you relax, to drift off to sleep by the sound of the waves, like the whispers of old souls. I know you have come to this video not just to hear the story, but also to find a deep, peaceful sleep. But before we begin, please gently like the video and subscribe to the channel so I can continue to tell you strange stories under the dim moonlight. Where are you from? And what time is it where you live? Just relax. Let your body relax. Put all your worries down by your pillow. Let me take you into a world of mysteries where the wind and the waves mingle, and unsolved mysteries are waiting to be told. Are you ready? The Adventures of Jack and Celine. Content warning: bugs, fire, darkness. Not for the first time in his life, Jack's Sunday afternoon was saved by vintage pornography. There was a magazine in the dusty antique store full of printed reproductions of saucy sepia scandals, and he flipped through with a schoolyard grin. "Oh my God," said Lisa. "Don't look at that, you jerk. Hey, you dragged me out to this dump, so don't complain. And I ain't jerking anything. Yet." Lisa rolled her eyes and made that "don't be gross" groan. Or maybe it was the "don't embarrass me in public" one. Whatever. I'm going to go look at armoires and pretend like we're not engaged. Love you too. Jack flipped through a few more magazines, and it struck him how natural everyone looked. No airbrushing, no Photoshop, not like it even existed back then. Their bodies simply were as they were. Adequate. Did society just have much healthier ideas of body image back then? It occurred to him there could be real historical merit in formally studying this. And then he wondered how he might go about getting a grant, especially considering he wasn't a historian or any kind of researcher. Oh my God, what am I doing? He set the magazines down before he ruined porn forever. Still, if he had found this, then maybe this antique shop of Lisa's wasn't a total waste of time. He decided to take a stroll down the creaking aisles and see what else he could find. Most of it was kitsch, but when he spotted the toys and games section, his eyes widened. And then Jack spotted her, Celine the centipede, a segmented orange plush about a foot long, slumped on a shelf. Her fur was patchy, and her one remaining lacquered eye scuffed. But it was unmistakably Celine. Faded memories stirred in his mind. Long forgotten thoughts stretched. A buried history awoke. He recalled a giant bonfire with all his family there. Other people too. Maybe it was a holiday? Little 8-year-old Jack, swaying in the welcoming glow of the flames as they kept the night's chill away, belting out Camptown races and then collapsing into a fit of giggles. And all the while, Celine safely nestled in the crook of his arm, protecting him from all the monsters that dwelled in the shadows. "Oh, wow," he said, approaching the toy shelf. "I can't believe it. He didn't notice Lisa sneak up on him. "What is that gross thing?" "Her name is Celine," Jack said, stressing it. "And she is not a gross thing. She was my best friend growing up." "Aw, that's so adorable. And sad. Adorably sad. We went everywhere together. She was there for me when my parents..." Lisa hugged him. "It's okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to bring it up. No, I'm fine. It was so long ago." Jack reached out to pick Celine up from her shelf, and Lisa slapped his hand. "Ew, don't touch it! What the hell? You don't know where it's been. It's probably covered in all kinds of gross stains and smells and fleas." "Centipedes don't get fleas, Lisa." "Jack," she said, squeezing his arm. "It's not a real centipede. Now behave. I'm going to go arrange delivery of our new armoire, and after that, we can head down to Murphy's for a pizza and beer." Jack watched her leave, and then turned his attention back to Celine. It looked just like her, just like the one he used to have. In fact, she was even missing her third left foot from the front. "Hello, Jack," said Celine. Jack gasped. "It is you! Was there ever any doubt?" Celine coughed, and some of her fur came loose. "Are you all right? Time's been a real bitch to me. Let me tell you, Jackie boy. Speaking of which, who's the tramp?" "What, you mean Lisa? Hey, she's my fiancé." "Oof, condolences, buddy," Jack scoffed. "Don't say that. I love her, do you? Or does she just have your balls in her purse? I mean, what the hell is an armoire? I don't know." "Exactly, Jack. Nobody does. It's made up. She made it up to sound smarter than you." "That's not true." Jack heard the petulant note in his voice. Still, he couldn't help crossing his arms and sinking into himself. "You know what she sounds like to me, buddy?" Jack shook his head. "A shadow monster." Jack gulped. "No." His voice was tight. Cold memories washed over his skin. Memories of vile things that lurked in the dark, all biding their time to snatch him. Some lurked under his bed, others in the closet. The biggest one, King Grumbler, lived down in the basement of their old house, where the lone, naked light bulb never gave off enough light. Night was a time of horrors incarnate, at least until Jack met Celine. Celine protected him. She watched over him while he slept, and with her around, he actually could sleep. She showed him the light. She was the light. With her on his team, nothing could stop Jack. He felt a dull ache in his chest. Why had they ever parted ways? It must have been in the chaos after the accident, after his whole life was flipped upside down and he lost everything. "Yes," Celine said. "A shadow monster. A creepy crawly." "Don't!" "A gristly ghouly." "Stop it." "Grabby stabby!" "Stop!" Jack's shout muted the store. Celine raised her front dozen feet in surrender. Okay. Calm down, Spaz. She scratched one of her rear segments. Didn't realize you felt so strongly about it. Although I guess it is pretty brave of you, marrying a shadow monster. Celine, she's not a shadow monster. It just occurred to Jack how much crap was in this antique store, and how weak the lights were. Everywhere he looked, there were dark nooks and umbral crannies. A life-sized suit of knight's armor cast a long shadow down a narrow corridor. But the suit was also big enough to hide at least 3 monsters, if they were real, of course. Jack shook his head. He wasn't afraid of the dark anymore. He'd outgrown it. I don't know what you see in her anyway. I always thought we were better together. We even have a ready-made couple's name. Celiac. Did you just ship us? And what the hell, Celine? Why would you go with Celiac instead of the obvious Jacqueline? Oh, Jacqueline. Celine weathered another coughing fit. You're right, that's pretty. I like it. So, we're agreed then? You're gonna dump the chump and roll with me? What? Drop the slop. Ditch the bitch. Punt the cup. Celine, what has gotten into you? She wasn't always like this, was she? It used to be all fuzzy hugs and warm giggles, and whispering secrets to each other long into the night. For all of his worries and all of his fears, she always had an answer. She'd been just what a frightened, lonely 8-year-old needed. But Jack wasn't a child anymore. I'm not leaving Lisa. She's the best thing that's ever happened to me. And that's a fact. Celine drew herself up. Unbelievable. Crossed dozens of feet. After all I've done for you. She shook her head at her neighbors on the toy shelf. I should have expected it. The shadow apple doesn't fall far from the shadow tree, it seems. What's that supposed to mean? Your parents were the biggest shadow monsters of all. That's not true. Come on, Jackie boy. It's your bedtime. No snacking before dinner. Brush your teeth, young man. They were insane. They were. Jack gulped. His memories of his parents were few and far between, but he knew they were good people. Weren't they? All those things, they just sounded like regular parent things. Celine leaned forward and clapped her feet. Oh my God, you don't remember, do you? Remember what? All I remember is, you used to be nice. Like that time we had a big bonfire with all the neighbors, and we got to stay up way after bedtime, and we sang Camptown races and laughed, and that nice lady gave me an apple juice. Nice lady? That was a paramedic, you dumbass. What? Come on, remember. Celine started humming Camptown races. Jack remembered working on a project earlier in the evening. Lots of papers, shredded papers, papier-mâché. That must have been it. An art project to show his parents how much he loved them. Only, in his memories, he was scattering the papers all around the house. Celine cleared her throat with another cough and began singing. Grab a lighter and some gas. Doo-dah, doo-dah. kill the shadows with some flame. Oh, dee-doo-da day, Jack remembered. With Celine clutched under one arm and the other arm dragging a gas can all over the neighborhood, he belted the lyrics out at the top of his lungs. She provided harmony. She told him where to go, how to arrange things, and when everything was ready, start your lighter, Jackie love, and give the gas a little kiss. Within seconds, 6 cookie-cutter houses erupted in a huge fireball that rose into the sky, and when bright-hot figures ran out of the conflagration, waving their arms in the air and screaming, Celine told him those were just the shadow monsters. They saw his work, and they had a change of heart. And now they were dancing and singing and happy and bright. And so Jack sang louder too, and he danced with Celine, and he danced much longer than the silly shadow people who got tired real quick and laid down to sleep. Jack screamed. "Aw, you remembered," Celine said. "'Bout damn time, my little pyro," Jack screamed more. "You have no idea how bored I've been since they took you away from me." Jack took a deep breath and continued screaming. "Come on, Jack. Let's go murder some folk. Just like the good old days." Jack continued screaming. Blam! A thundering blast right beside Jack. He fell into trembling silence. An old man in thick, square glasses stood right beside him and lowered a shotgun. Little remained of Celine's shelf other than scorched wood and a smear of orange fluff. "Ah, dang it," said the old man. "You know, I put up a sign, but people don't read. Keep donating their haunted toys and cursed dolls and whatnot. Oh well, so you're fine to deliver it on Wednesday?" Lisa asked. "Yes, ma'am. You can count on it. That's a lovely armoire, and I'm sure you'll enjoy it for a long time." He shook Lisa's hand and then departed. "Well," Lisa said, entwining her arm with Jack's shivering one, "I told you that thing was gross. Anyway, guess we're lucky he was nice enough not to charge us for it. Now come on, let's go get that beer and pizza." The doctor. "Don't touch me. Keep your distance. I've heard that every day now for 9 months. Doesn't make things easy when you're the town's GP. First, it was the fires. Then it was the virus. Everything has turned to shit in Maui after the president was re-elected. Okay, he probably has nothing to do with it. But we need to blame someone, don't we? I put on my PP bunny suit and wait at the Kihei Pier for the boat to arrive. "Second boat this month," the sergeant says. "Locked and loaded," I say, showing him my assault rifle and giving him a hint of a salute, even though military ranks no longer exist. Good stance, Doc. Besides being able to hold a rifle, I'm here to do spotting. Being the town's GP, people think I'm the best person at detecting who has been infected. What I don't tell those people is that the virus is invisible, and we don't have any medical supplies or way to detect it. And since we've run out of insulin last month, I've lost much of the feeling in my fingers. And my toes? We've lost our connection weeks ago. One day at a time. I need to carry on. I have a duty to my patients. The boat nears the dock. The men on board are pointing guns back at us. It makes sense. They are as suspicious of us as we are of them. They don't know whether the virus has taken hold here. They look nervous. That's a good sign. I hold my numb finger well away from the trigger of my AR-15. When the takeover began, it was easy to spot them. The freelancers. The first thing they lost was self-care. All they did was work. There spent no time looking in the mirror. All they wanted to do was to book billable hours. We normal people used to work 8 hours a day. They could work 20. But lately, the gig guru's AI has injected more of a human touch into the virus, leaving just enough human instinct for them to fly under the radar. Unless one is very, very discerning. A man on the front of the incoming boat shouts, "Honolulu Medical Supply Run, Captain Johnson from Tripler AMC." The sergeant gives a proper military salute to the boat. "Sergeant Jaworski, are we good to dock, Sergeant?" "All good here, Captain." The sergeant nods and signals the others to tie up the incoming boat. A moment later, Captain Johnson jumps off. I study his face closely. Well-defined cheekbones. We've all on a starvation diet these days. He notices my stare. "Hey, chill out. We're friendlies." I keep my distance. Gig Guru's virus is so large, it doesn't spread easily. It can't travel through the air without its high molecular weight, making it drop to the ground. How it infects people, no one is exactly sure. Every story that changes history begins with a spark. An event so small and insignificant, no one noticed it at the time. Hitler giving his first speech on a corner in Vienna. The CIA attaching a missile to a drone in Afghanistan in 2002. The AI apocalypse started with something even smaller. In 2020, Gig Guru, a freelance company, sent health supplements to its workforce. They saw the programmers who received free yerba mate pills booked 12% more hours. The creatives who received green tea extract had higher customer satisfaction scores. It worked so well, Gig Guru hired data scientists to expand their biohealth program. The scientists expanded the system to program to giving freelancers suggestions on how to receive ADHD prescriptions. The next year, they requested their DNA samples. "We've been vaccinated," Captain Johnson says. "The military lab in Honolulu has come up with new tech. We're here to bring it to you." The captain holds out his hand for a handshake. I instinctively back off. "Why didn't you let us know about this over the radio?" the sergeant asks. "Operational secrecy." The sergeant nods. Apparently, this makes sense to him. The captain and his men haul crates of medical equipment off the boat. They take over our abandoned ice cream parlor at the end of the pier. Someone yanks the starting cord on the generator they brought. The lights turn on. They begin plugging in all the medical equipment. The rumble of the generator and the displays lighting up signals. Modern civilization. Something we are all longing for. I feel it's my duty to safeguard the best interest of my patients. What if Gigugu alters the virus? I ask the captain. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. I look to the sergeant for his opinion. The sergeant looks uneasy, but he defers to the captain. The scale of the military presence in Honolulu is hundreds of times greater than ours. And what do we have to lose? I'll go first, the sergeant says. He leads from the front. I stand back, and him receive a series of medical checks. They take a vial out of a freezer box and give him an injection in the shoulder. Don't feel a thing, he says with a big grin. The one he gives us when we are all worried about something. Everyone in our community receives their injection before me. I watch them closely for side effects. I can give aid if needed. Finally, it's my turn, and I sit down. Captain Johnson takes my blood pressure and oxygen levels with the jury-rigged equipment. I don't recognize some of the machines that they've put together. Your blood pressure is running a bit high, but everything else is normal. How have you been feeling lately? A little off, but hanging in there. I feel my ribs poking out from my aloha shirt. Any symptoms? He asks. I stare at my toes, the ones I can't feel. It wouldn't help to complain about diabetes right now, so I say nothing. I'll ask later if they have any insulin on Honolulu. All good, I say. This man is a great patient. The captain looks at all his equipment and winks at his crew in the room. I stand up from my chair, and he gives me a hug. I want to shed a tear, as I haven't been hugged by anyone for years. I think of my daughter and how much I miss her. She's in California. It's probably too late, but I think there's still hope. Thank you for your service, Doctor, the captain says. He hugs me even tighter, his arms almost crushing me. Someone comes up close behind me. I feel a sting in my buttocks. He's the only one infected, I hear him say, before everything goes dark. The doctor. Don't touch me. Keep your distance. I've heard that every day now for 9 months. Doesn't make things easy when you're the town's GP. First, it was the fires. Then it was the virus. Everything has turned to shit in Maui after the president was re-elected. Okay, he probably has nothing to do with it. But we need to blame someone, don't we? I put on my PPE bunny suit and wait at the Kihei Pier for the boat to arrive. Second boat this month, the sergeant says. Locked and loaded, I say, showing him my assault rifle and giving him a hint of a salute, even though military ranks no longer exist. Good stance, Doc. Besides being able to hold a rifle, I'm here to do spotting. Being the town's GP, people think I'm the best person at detecting who has been infected. What I don't tell those people is that the virus is invisible, and we don't have any medical supplies. or way to detect it. And since we've run out of insulin last month, I've lost much of the feeling in my fingers. And my toes? We've lost our connection weeks ago. One day at a time. I need to carry on. I have a duty to my patients. The boat nears the dock. The men on board are pointing guns back at us. It makes sense. They are as suspicious of us as we are of them. They don't know whether the virus has taken hold here. They look nervous. That's a good sign. I hold my numb finger well away from the trigger of my AR-15. When the takeover began, it was easy to spot them. The freelancers. The first thing they lost was self-care. All they did was work. There spent no time looking in the mirror. All they wanted to do was to book billable hours. We normal people used to work 8 hours a day. They could work 20. But lately, the gig guru's AI has injected more of a human touch into the virus, leaving just enough human instinct for them to fly under the radar. Unless one is very, very discerning. A man on the front of the incoming boat shouts, "Honolulu Medical Supply Run, Captain Johnson from Tripler AMC." The sergeant gives a proper military salute to the boat. "Sergeant Jaworski." "Are we good to dock, Sergeant?" "All good here, Captain." The sergeant nods and signals the others to tie up the incoming boat. A moment later, Captain Johnson jumps off. I study his face closely. Well-defined cheekbones. We've all on a starvation diet these days. He notices my stare. "Hey, chill out. We're friendlies." I keep my distance. Gig Guru's virus is so large, it doesn't spread easily. It can't travel through the air without its high molecular weight, making it drop to the ground. How it infects people, no one is exactly sure. Every story that changes history begins with a spark. An event so small and insignificant, no one noticed it at the time. Hitler giving his first speech on a corner in Vienna. The CIA attaching a missile to a drone in Afghanistan in 2002. The AI apocalypse started with something even smaller. In 2020, Gig Guru, a freelance company, sent health supplements to its workforce. They saw the programmers who received free yerba mate pills booked 12% more hours. The creatives who received green tea extract had higher customer satisfaction scores. It worked so well, Gig Guru hired data scientists to expand their biohealth program. The scientists expanded the system to program to giving freelancers suggestions on how to receive ADHD prescriptions. The next year, they requested their DNA samples. "We've been vaccinated," Captain Johnson says. "The military lab in Honolulu has come up with new tech. We're here to bring it to you." The captain holds out his hand for a handshake. I instinctively back off. "Why didn't you let us know about this over the radio?" the sergeant asks. "Operational secrecy." The sergeant nods. Apparently, this makes sense to him. The captain and his men haul crates of medical equipment off the boat. They take over our abandoned ice cream parlor at the end of the pier. someone yanks the starting cord on the generator they brought. The lights turn on. They begin plugging in all the medical equipment. The rumble of the generator and the displays lighting up signals, modern civilization. Something we are all longing for. I feel it's my duty to safeguard the best interest of my patients. What if Gigugu alters the virus? I ask the captain. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. I look to the sergeant for his opinion. The sergeant looks uneasy, but he defers to the captain. The scale of the military presence in Honolulu is hundreds of times greater than ours. And what do we have to lose? I'll go first, the sergeant says. He leads from the front. I stand back, and him receive a series of medical checks. They take a vial out of a freezer box and give him an injection in the shoulder. Don't feel a thing, he says with a big grin. The one he gives us when we are all worried about something. Everyone in our community receives their injection before me. I watch them closely for side effects. I can give aid if needed. Finally, it's my turn, and I sit down. Captain Johnson takes my blood pressure and oxygen levels with the jury-rigged equipment. I don't recognize some of the machines that they've put together. Your blood pressure is running a bit high, but everything else is normal. How have you been feeling lately? A little off, but hanging in there. I feel my ribs poking out from my aloha shirt. Any symptoms? He asks. I stare at my toes, the ones I can't feel. It wouldn't help to complain about diabetes right now, so I say nothing. I'll ask later if they have any insulin on Honolulu. All good, I say. This man is a great patient. The captain looks at all his equipment and winks at his crew in the room. I stand up from my chair, and he gives me a hug. I want to shed a tear, as I haven't been hugged by anyone for years. I think of my daughter and how much I miss her. She's in California. It's probably too late, but I think there's still hope. Thank you for your service, Doctor, the captain says. He hugs me even tighter, his arms almost crushing me. Someone comes up close behind me. I feel a sting in my buttocks. He's the only one infected, I hear him say, before everything goes dark. My brain through your brain. Was an optimist, and so, naturally, was the thing that lived in her brain. She awoke one Tuesday morning to discover the change. At first, it was merely a mental echo, barely perceptible. Two indistinguishable minds, one off by a fraction of a second. For Katie's every thought, there was an echo, trailing just behind. Over the day, the new brain drifted further out of sync, and soon she could hear its thoughts, almost identical to hers, but distinct. Eventually, they started talking. "Who are you?" Katie asked. "Katie Singleton," the voice said from inside her head. "That's me." "You're new in there." "I guess so," the voice said. "Sorry." "Don't be sorry." Katie was an over-apologizer too. "What should I call you?" "It's hard to get past Katie," the voice said. How about Princess Penelope? Katie asked. It was the name she'd given her imaginary friend when she was an 8-year-old princess junkie. Princess Penelope had filled a void. Playmate, partner in mischief. The sister she never had. The voice was as thrilled as Katie was. It remembered the same childhood. I love it, she said. I feel so fabulous. I'm Princess Penelope. Katie wondered what her therapist would have to say about all this, but decided to just go with it. It was nice to have someone like-minded to talk to. They quizzed each other as Katie waited for the morning train. Phone held to her ear so onlookers would think there was a real person on the other end of the conversation. Favorite color? Princess Penelope asked. Turquoise, they said together. Turquoise. Movie? Katie asked. Eternal Sunshine, they replied simultaneously. Eternal Sunshine. Guilty pleasure food? Rocky Road, Katie said, as Princess Penelope replied, raw meat. Katie paused, puzzled. It was the first discordant note of their friendship. The train arrived, and they got on. Together, of course. You seem distant, Noah said. It was Sunday morning. They were burrowed under covers, hiding from the daylight. Just like eternal sunshine, Princess Penelope noted. Katie had thought the same thing. She smiled. It was like having a sister, a twin. Noah waited for a response. See, he said, you're somewhere else. Katie had felt disconnected from Noah well before the appearance of her invisible friend. Their relationship was stagnant, all unhealthy patterns. She pretended to laugh at his jokes. He feigned interest in her plans. So, what is it? He seemed more annoyed than concerned. When she moved to the city to be with him, everyone said that she was moving too fast, that it was a bad idea. In time, Katie realized that they were right. She and Noah didn't really know each other, didn't even like each other. Did you meet someone? She traced the line of his jaw with her index finger. Gently. Can't we just be quiet together? She asked. Noah sighed, but pulled her close anyway. I'd love for us to tell him, Princess Penelope said, but he'd never understand. At the market for dish soap, Katie became distracted by the meat aisle. She settled on a pound of ground chuck, leanest she could find, 98% fat-free. It made her feel less guilty about the purchase. It's okay, said Princess Penelope. You know, pregnant women also crave protein. Katie didn't see the relevance, but didn't argue. The woman at checkout eyed her suspiciously. Katie wondered if there was something in their demeanor that called attention to them. Are our eyes twitching? Katie asked Princess Penelope aloud. Excuse me? The woman behind the counter responded. Katie quickly took her bag and went to the alley out back. By the dumpsters, she tore through the plastic wrap and pulled out handfuls of ground beef, squished it between her hands, into her mouth. Her teeth released saturated blood from spongy tissue to drip down her throat. Princess Penelope almost cried inside her. and Katie felt sustained in a way that was new to her. Supercharged. Oh, God. She buried her face in the package of meat, gobbling like a starved mutt, sucking down every stray drop of juice until her tongue lapped against the styrofoam backing. Oh, God. What are you? Katie asked. Noah slept in the bedroom. They'd barely spoken that evening. When she came in from work, he told her she looked sick. It was true. She'd examined herself in the bathroom mirror, cheeks hollowed from lost weight, bags under her eyes, dark as bruises, thinning hair, chapped lips, sores. Still, his words hurt her feelings. Princess Penelope's, too. Now Katie sat on the couch, streaming shows she'd already seen. A shield of noise so Noah wouldn't hear her talking. I don't know, Princess Penelope answered. A figment of my imagination? Some part of my brain? I don't think so, Princess Penelope said. I exist. I'm not a stray thought, or a ghost, or anything like that. But what do you look like? I can't tell. I only see my brain. Through your brain, if that makes sense. It does, Katie said. I think there's something you saw, or maybe read. A clue. I'm going to look. Princess Penelope could find memories Katie had lost. It was a wonderful secret shared between them. Her internal friend could call up, with perfect clarity, forgotten birthday parties, replay, word for word, conversations with friends who'd moved away, recover romantic feelings for Noah from those blissful first months when he'd been her lifeline in an unfriendly new city, rescue her mother's smile when she'd been happy, her father's when he'd been alive. Let me know if you figure it out, Katie said. Princess Penelope went quiet while she searched, and Katie felt lonelier than ever. Shows replayed in front of her, and she didn't bother clicking yes when the still watching prompt appeared. She fell asleep sitting up. No transition. Her brain just clicked off like a light. Wake up, Princess Penelope said. Katie opened her eyes. She stood in the bedroom, facing a wall. What's going on? She asked. Don't be mad, Princess Penelope said. What happened? Katie willed herself to turn from the wall and realized that she couldn't. Princess Penelope was in control. I won't be mad, Katie said. Just show me. In a minute, Princess Penelope said through their mouth. Now she was the one using it. I realized what it was. You saw a video in high school, science class. The zombie wasp. It played in their head. National Geographic. Wasp larvae take over a caterpillar while feeding on it from the inside, directing it to gorge itself until they're ready to eat their way out. You're a wasp? Katie asked. Something smaller, I think, Princess Penelope said. But the same idea. Some kind of bug, maybe. A bug? Crawling around inside her skull. It was too unsettling. Like an itch you could never hope to scratch. I know, said Princess Penelope. It's icky. Again, Katie tried to turn her head. Nothing. The muscles of her body were completely disconnected from her thoughts. "Show me what happened," Katie pleaded. Their head tilted down, and Katie saw their hands, covered to elbows in blood. The rest of it. "Please." They turned from the wall, and Katie saw it. Bedspread spattered red. Hammer slathered in gristle. Flesh and bone chips. Tools. Kitchen utensils. Noah disassembled. Chest slashed. Innards strewn. Organs in a pile. Some half-eaten. Sightless eyes staring. Head cracked open. Skull emptied. "I realized what I was really craving," Princess Penelope said. "I didn't want to wake you, but it was delicious. You have no idea." Katie saw everything. Her degraded face in the mirror. Aches all over. New ones every day. The way the light from the bedside lamp now gave her headaches. That sour smell she didn't recognize on her own breath. "I'm the caterpillar." "I think so, Katie," Princess Penelope said with real sympathy. "But I'll go on. Don't know if it helps, but your memories will live in me." Katie felt herself cry, but no tears came. She imagined them falling inwardly, pooling in her steadily shrinking chamber within the brain that had once been hers. "I'm so sorry, sweetie. Let's get ice cream." Rocky Road? It was a nice thought. Princess Penelope knew her so well. The menagerie. Don Benway and his father were regulars at the hospital's oncology department and on familiar terms with Jerry, the head porter. "Morning, handsome," Jerry would say as he approached. "How are we today?" "A darn sight better than you," Walter would say, muttering behind his bandages. Walter had undergone regular surgery for over 3 years, and during that time, they'd snipped, sliced, and cut away so many facial lesions, he was almost unrecognizable. "Your usual seat, sir?" Jerry would ask, smiling as he pushed Walter's wheelchair. Do I have a choice in the matter? The plastic surgeons couldn't keep pace with Walter's disfigurement, and, as a result, he'd retreated from life and deteriorated both physically or mentally. Don was 9 years old back in 1977 when his family moved to the house that became their long-term family home. The Benway family attended a viewing the week before they moved in. It was the first time Don had visited the house and met Mr. and Mrs. Jolly. The couple had lived there most of their adult lives and cherished their old place. Despite their advanced years, they'd maintained the garden, and the Benway family would inherit an impressive collection of mature trees, shrubs, and plants, not to mention a curious menagerie of assorted wildlife. While Mr. Jolly escorted Don's parents around the interior, Mrs. Jolly showed the lad all the secret nooks and crannies in the garden, concluding her tour with an introduction to her tortoises, Thomas and Tabitha. Don's face beamed like an early morning sunrise when he met the wrinkly old reptiles. Their cold, scaly flesh and severe faces were both characterful and hideous at the same time. The old lady encouraged Don to offer them lettuce. His hand trembled as he offered the crisp leaves, and he laughed out loud when they recoiled into their gnarled shells. "Oh no, what did I do? Don't worry, they'll get used to you. Are you leaving them here?" "It's their home," she said, "and they'll bring good luck." She held Don's hand, and holding his gaze, made him promise to look after them. "I'll do my best," he said. "Let's meet the other creatures." "Yes, please," he said with twinkling eyes. Mrs. Jolly introduced Don to the other inhabitants of her garden, explaining how to care for the small aviary of chirruping canaries and the modest, ornamental pond containing a dozen lethargic goldfish. At the exchange of contracts, the conveyancing solicitor notified Don's parents about the deal breaker. It's yes to the menagerie, or no sale. Don's father's jaw sagged in disbelief, and he voiced his objections, saying how much he couldn't abide pets. The lawyer shrugged and made it clear he got paid either way. However, Don's mother, Anita, had fallen in love with the house and fought her corner. Mr. Benway backed down for once and agreed to sign, providing he had no responsibility for the damn beasts. So said, so done. The completion date went ahead as planned, despite Walter's issue with the caveat, and he refused to acknowledge the animals. "I can't see the point of those ugly old creatures," he said, shaking his head. "They're supposed to bring good luck," Don said, "if we look after them. But they look half dead to me," said Walter. "And they're so slow." "You'll be old and creaking one day," said his wife. "Nobody would miss them if they were dumped in a hole and covered in soil." Don's mother rolled her eyeballs and sighed. She knew how to pick her battles and when to walk away from a pointless conversation. The solicitor completed the legal arrangements, and Don assumed charge of his new animal companions. Prior to marriage, Anita Benway had enjoyed the company of an excitable terrier called Dougal, who now lived with Don's maternal grandmother. "Don't you miss Dougal?" Don asked his mother one day. "Why, yes," she'd said. "But I can't look after him here, dear." "Why not?" "Your father's not keen," she'd said, sighing. Besides, Dougal's splendid company for Granny. Under the circumstances, Don was fortunate his father granted him any time to care for the motley collection in their new garden. The new-found responsibility was a life-enhancing experience Don would remember forever. However short-lived, it was the goldfish that vanished first. Mr. Benway blamed the local heron for their disappearance. Don accepted his father's explanation without question, and it wasn't until years later that he queried events. It was possible the beady-eyed predator had spotted the listless fish basking in the warm summer water. But had it swooped down and skewered them? It was doubtful, because they'd covered the water with a strawberry net designed to prevent such an occurrence. There was little chance of the bird reaching beneath the mesh, unless somebody had removed it. Walter's skin complaint started with 1 or 2 minor blemishes He couldn't stop scratching. He had dry patches on his cheekbones, forehead, and temples that irritated him. The long-term result of a casual indifference to the perils of sunburn and skin protection. Don noticed him digging at them with his fingernails while he read his newspaper, watched TV, and during meal times at the dining table. Walter's urge to scratch was an instinctive and almost unconscious reaction. His tiny weeping sores would bleed, scab over, dry out, and itch like mad again. The aviary remained intact for about a year, until the last of the canaries vanished. It never occurred to Don that their dwindling numbers might be associated with his father's activities in the garden. Don was diligent about shutting the wire mesh door after feeding times, and couldn't work out how it was often ajar, or why Mephistopheles, the neighbor's tabby, looked so pleased with himself, licking his moist claws as if he'd enjoyed a 3-course meal. Walter dismantled the rickety wooden structure after the last resident disappeared and burned the remains at Halloween. Don asked for a replacement. It wasn't an option. "You'll just have to be happy with the tortoises, son," said his father, smirking, "and make the most of them while they're alive and kicking." It was after Halloween when Don first noticed the tortoises had vanished. There was no obvious explanation for their disappearance. He didn't suspect the heron, and Mephistopheles was nowhere to be found. "No point in worrying," said Mr. Benway. "I'm sure they'll return to trouble us again." Don's mother was a brave soul, bless her, and always gave sound advice based on common sense and astute observation. Anita had warned Walter about the dangers of scratching himself years before she passed away. She told her husband he was making his complaint worse, and threatened to either clip his fingernails or knit him woolen mittens to prevent irritation and subsequent infection. Walter tutted with exasperation at her remarks, despite acknowledging she was correct. But would he stop? No way. In Anita's absence, Walter persisted against her advice, and his condition deteriorated. After 15 years of itching and scratching, the affected areas of skin expanded beyond all expectation, screaming out loud for medical intervention. It's standard practice to have sun-damaged skin removed, Walter's consultant said, recommending an initial series of minor operations to remove the first malignant lumps. The surgeons described the offending growths as blossoms, as if they were intriguing botanical discoveries to be dissected, examined, and archived for future generations of horticulturists to study and discuss in their PhD essays. 3 years ago, Walter's consultant found a lump on his neck that looked like cancer. He took a sample, and the lab results were indisputable. It was serious. They had to take positive action. The hospital rushed Don's father to the front of the queue. Within 2 weeks, they admitted him to hospital and started a month-long course of radiotherapy, resulting in emergency surgery. They removed a golf ball-sized tumor growing on his neck between his clavicle and jawbone. Walter's condition had started as sun damage and developed into galloping melanomas. It was the turning point for Walter. The oncologist gave him a low percentage chance of surviving another year. Contrary to his prediction, however, they prolonged Walter's life a further 3 years, but at a cost. Don's father took on an uncanny appearance. His once inquisitive and bright features disappeared after countless amounts of invasive surgery. The tip of his left ear was the first item to be snipped off. His attitude was stoic at that point. "It's you lot that have the problem," he'd said, brushing aside the issue. "I don't have to look at it, and I'm not worried about losing it." Very brave, Don thought, until the other ear faced the same treatment. Walter was much less philosophical at that point. He often pondered on cause and effect, and cursed his years of pottering about in the sun and dodging his wife's Factor 20. 2 years later, and he had both ears removed and 80% of his nose. Both nostrils were bloody gashes, above stretched and scabbed, beak-like lips. Both eyes stared, unblinking, out of lidless sockets, and they'd reconstructed his forehead and eyebrows with pale and ill-matching flesh grafts. In places, the new skin flapped like an unfurled sail in the doldrums, and in other locations, it was tight like a snare drum at a state funeral. His entire head had become a work in progress, because the surgeons had struggled to keep pace with malignant outcrops. They passed him around the department for every aspiring surgeon to add to the disfigured conglomeration, rebuilding his features as if he were an ancient building in need of a facelift, bashed back into shape, and finished with a few quick licks of skin-toned emulsion. It's easy to underestimate the psychological damage inflicted. Walter's habits changed to accommodate the process of assessment, consultation, and surgical procedure. He seldom ventured out during daylight, and then, with a great coat and a raised collar, his own shell-like protection, like a reptilian secret agent, disguising himself and hiding from the world, lest he draw aghast reactions or pitiful, tight-lipped expressions of sympathy. It was painful to watch the slow transformation unfold, and heartbreaking to witness him become a wretched creature, hobbling about like the monstrous denizen of Geneva that Mary Shelley transformed into a famous fictional creation. Stitched together from ill-matched body parts and second-hand components, and destined to a lonely existence, or hounded by ignorant townsfolk baying for blood. For the last year, every part of Walter's life revolved around the work required to fix him up and restore some degree of his former dignity. given the state of his face since they started tweaking and tinkering with his facial lesions, he would have been better off employing Cecilia Gimenez to restore his looks. At least her work was consistent, as poor as it may be. In Walter's case, it looked as if they'd invited a dozen Cecilias to have a go. Don couldn't help looking at his father and thinking about the absent tortoises, their unblinking eyes, angular beaks, and scaly reptilian skin. He didn't believe in reincarnation, but Don couldn't help wondering if the missing amphibians had made their presence felt in some awful and grisly fashion. Creatures embroiled in karma's stealthy activities, visiting the family, perhaps in some other guise, to remind everyone that life in all its forms matters. It was after Mr. Benway's recent funeral that Don discovered the remains of Thomas and Tabitha. He was turning over the soil to the rear of the old family home when his spade hit something hard. After further investigation in the immediate area, Don unearthed not one, but two hollowed-out tortoise shells, their former inhabitants long reclaimed back to the earth. With the grim remains at his feet and the childhood memories of the menagerie's quiet demise, Don clenched his jaw and drew a long breath. What would drive any creature to burrow into the ground to die? A question he had long abandoned returned to haunt him. Surely it wasn't deliberate. Behind closed doors. Have you seen this boy? The woman behind the chained door shook her head at the creased photograph. He's 6 here, Anna urged, but he's closer to 8 now. Ain't seen him. Sorry, truly I am. The woman hung her head, closing the door. Anna had almost gotten used to it. The slamming doors, the constant barrage of no's, dejected looks momentarily sharing her horror. Then straight back to daily life with the squeak of a hinge and the click of a lock. That's just what normal people do. Life goes on, for most. Times she wished she could close the door on it, say goodbye, give up. But what kind of mother would that make her? Sliding the photo into her inside jacket pocket, she pressed it to her chest, where he belonged. Men huddled on the apartment steps, threw dice, and glared at her as she left. Women shouting from sash windows at kids playing on the street shook their heads at the sight of her. Sorrow? Pity? Repulsion? She didn't know, nor care. By reputation alone, most everyone in Hartsville knew her, or of her. She'd become as much a lost soul as little Jimmy. Except no one hunted for her. Not anymore. Released without substantial evidence is how the lawyers explained it. Not innocent, not guilty. Somewhere in between, and cast into the worst court of them all. The public. Half the town and all her family blamed her for Jimmy's disappearance, and half again thought she murdered him. Some things just don't rub out after printing. Drawing deep from a cigarette, She leaned against the rust bucket she called a car, and home, its windows crowded with the few possessions her former husband allowed her to have. Gazing up and down the street, she considered how much longer she could do this. How many more shoes could she wear through? How many? Hey, you. Anna turned, searching for the smooth voice. A tall figure lurked in the alleyway opposite, features hidden by the descending sun, intentions none the plainer. Cocking an eyebrow, she pointed to her chest. Yeah, you. Come here. Waving her over, he disappeared into the poster-tattered passage. Discarding the cigarette, she made a show of tucking her 4-day, fresh, white tank top into her equally dirty jeans. In reality, she ran a hand under her cargo jacket, making sure the snub nose would be easy to pull. Only a fool came into the devil's basement, as the locals called it, unready, unprotected, or more worrying, unwilling to do what might be needed to be done. Steadying her breathing, she edged between the cars and made for the mystery man, standing at the other end now, one foot on the crumbling red brickwork, arms folded, eyes closed, his head tilted to the gathering clouds. What do you want? She asked, placing her hands on her hips. Not me. He didn't open his eyes. Well, who? Boss man. Should that mean something to me? Maybe. It doesn't. Now what's this about? He needs a job doing. Says you're the woman for it. Sorry. Don't do job interviews in back alleyways. She turned, throwing a dismissive wave over her shoulder. Here now, woman. Before you go, he wants you to have this. He extended a closed fist, finally opening his eyes. She stepped back, squinting in disbelief at his yellow stare, blazing like the midsummer sun. Nonetheless, curiosity sunk its teeth into her. What's that? A gift. If you like, more be waiting after a ride in that car down there. Nodding toward the perpendicular laneway, Anna leaned out, all cautious, like to spot a rumbling estate wagon. Who's in that? And where would it take me? Trust me, woman. You ain't going to care after you see this. He waggled his fist. She extended a shaking palm. His fingers unfurled. Her heart stopped, then hammered, temple thumping loud. Impossible. Stomach knotting, hairs spiked the length of her neck. How? Dizziness overcame her, faint, happy, angry. It was all too much. Tears welled as she lifted that tiny yellow watch, the one with the cracked Power Ranger face Jimmy flipped open and shut when he got nervous. Terrified of the answer, yet hoping it to be true, she turned it over. J.C. engraved on its back. Jimmy Crawford, her Jimmy. She took off before her reeling mind could catch up, and within seconds flung open the car door. She knew the kind of mother she was. Relentless. The bag over her head didn't scare her, nor the machete-wielding woman next to her. Not even the fact they'd been driving for at least an hour now. No. What scared her was herself. She just jumped without thinking. Anyone could have faked that watch. It was common knowledge he wore one the day he disappeared, but not the engraving Jimmy did with a nail. Or was it? She racked her memory. The car slowed to a stop. Another stop sign. Traffic. The cops? With a mechanical click, the doors unlocked, swung open, and someone seized her elbow. "Let's go, woman." Her bated breath gathered like dew under her nose. Stones crunched underfoot. Then a hinge complained, as what sounded like a heavy metal door groaned open. "There's steps here. Wouldn't it be easier to take this thing off?" Anna asked, trying to add a little unfelt humor to her voice. A sharp jab between her shoulders was the only reply. She didn't ask any more questions, humorous or not. The descent stretched impossibly long, like the moment you see a child falling, but are too slow to react. With each step, the heat grew inferno hot. Sweat matted her hair, dampened her talk, stung her eyes. Where were they taking her? What did they want? Another door opened. The stench of sweat and sewage hitting her harder than a bat. Then music, laughter, glasses clinking. Prodded onwards, silence fell in her wake. Pushed into a chair, she grunted. Canvas bag whipped from her head. She panted the stale air. The room flickered. Tiny flames dancing behind red glass scattered across a discord of tables. Everything blurred as if staring through a heat wave. Licking her lips, she tried making sense of the shapes. Like a head swelling adrenaline rush, everything stopped swaying and came rushing into sobering focus. Hunched over a curved counter, a man fished juicy maggots from a writhing jar, then dropped them, slurping into his toothless mouth. Two skeletal, thin women, wearing nothing but dog collars, curled at the feet of an obese man, rubbing goose fat through his hair. Young men howled at a geriatric pole dancer, whilst an amputee burn victim served curdled milk. All the while, a man on a small stage played dirty blues on a gore-splattered guitar, face a snarled rictus, fingers bloody stumps, vomit climbing her throat, blood draining from her face. She gripped the round table as a drowning man may grip driftwood. Jesus Christ, not quite. She spun to the chocolate, rich-voiced stranger opposite. He wore a smoldering cigar on thin lips, a sneer in his ember eyes, yellowish smoke drifting from flared nostrils. "You this boss man?" He nodded. Courage boiled from the gun in her waistband. "Where's my boy?" Around. He waved a hand festooned with many rings across the debauchery on display. "You'll see him when the time's right, when the deal is done." He leaned from the shadows, elbows making the table creak. Prove it. Prove he's here. Yellow Eyes dropped a tattered ball of fabric into boss man waiting palm. Then he threw it at Anna. Unrolling that faded Superman t-shirt, her chin trembled. Jimmy's t-shirt. What happened to him? Did these people hurt him? She swallowed her fear and the urge to run. Jimmy was here. After 2 years, she finally found something. Something more terrifying than these foul bastards. Hope, what do you want? Where did you get this? She cuddled the disintegrating garment. No small talk? She held his burning gaze. Fair enough. He was wearing it when we found him. Where? Not far. Right under your nose, actually. A neighbor. A fucking what? She leapt up, anger hammering her chest. He held out his hands. Calm, Anna. I'm here to help, Anna. Help? Why? Let's say I've a soft spot for the innocent and outcast. He gestured to sit. She complied. Although it's not the only reason. You see, I provide a service to our little community of Hartville. And you? Well, you are 2 birds, 1 stone. Wouldn't it be nice to stop running? Get the vengeance you deserve. Vengeance? I just want my son. Please. Her voice broke, unstoppable tears falling. You'll want revenge. Boss man studied his nails without a care in the world. A local woman came to me, told me of a man, a terrible man, patrolling the local parks and schools. Said he was offering sweets and toys to her nieces to get into his van. Smart girls ran away. The police, however, did little. The law is weak that way. He paused, puffed his cigar, and blew smoke into Anna's face. So I sent some of my hounds, he nodded to Yellow Eyes and Machete, to rain some hell on this pervert. Thing is, it was clear that his house, his deviant prison, was being used by more than just him. A ring, as they say. We searched the premises, found poor Jimmy chained to a bed frame in the basement with 2 others, little more than malnourished sex dolls. Anna's stomach turned, terror and anger searing her insides. She wanted to hurt someone, anyone. A little torture goes a long way, Anna. Remove a little flesh, and tada, the pervert gave up the names of his accomplices. Would you like to know who they are? Jaw clenched. She hissed the word. Who? I'll give you 3 names. You do what needs to be done. You'll see your boy again. We have a deal? How will I get back here? I don't know. Levi will go with you. Yellow's eyes winked at her. So, is that a yes? No sooner had she agreed than that damn canvas bag was pulled over her head once more. Anna dove into the station wagon's back seat, ears ringing, heart thumping, throat choked with the metallic aftertaste of gunpowder. Levi smiled between the seats. Damn, Miss Crawford, you a cold bitch. No hesitation. He opens the door, and you just fucking drive already. Anna barked, balling the cuff of her jacket and rubbing at the crimson mottling her face. "Ha, okay, you the boss tonight." Anna stared out the rear window at the tree-lined street and white picket fences speeding by, concerned neighbors stumbling into the road to investigate the woman, wailing over her husband's body at 46 Broken Ridge Avenue. Little did they know the service Anna just did for them. Eradicated suburban filth. First of 3, she rested the revolver on her knee. Somehow, it felt lighter, as if that one bullet carried away the weight of her suffering, her loss. But he wasn't lost. He was waiting for her. Something unexpected curled the edge of her lip. "You smiling, Miss Crawford?" Levi asked into the rearview mirror. "You are. Cold bitch. You're going to fit real nice." She shook her head, dismissing both comment and grin. "Who's next? Edward?" "Calhoun." Anna repeated the name, tracking her finger down the apartment buzzer's nameplates. There you are. 2 short buzzes, a click, a cough, then, "Hello, who's there?" "Mr. Calhoun, sorry to disturb you." She already picked a name from those displayed. "This is Jessica Longstein. I've lost my key again. And you were the first to..." Yeah. The electrical hum of the magnetic release sent a chill down her spine. Not fear, but anticipation. 1 step closer to Jimmy, 4 flights of stairs. 1 long, worn, carpeted hallway, and she stood outside his peeling door. Patiently, she waited for a Latino couple to get on the elevator, then knocked, placing a hand over the spyglass. Floorboards groaned from within. A chain rattled, a bolt slid, and she found herself staring at a stout, unshaven man in his 50s, wearing a blue telecoms shirt. "What can I do for you, Missy?" "This is for Jimmy." His eyes stretched, fearful wide. At the name, the crazed redhead at his door, or the gun inches from his face. It didn't matter. Pull, click, bang. His last thoughts sprayed over the cracked plaster inside, his body collapsing as though its bones turned to mud. For a second, she watched him, hopeless, pathetic, no longer a danger. She breathed deep. 1 to go. "Miss Crawford, yo, Anna. Startling awake, she grabbed Levi's poking hand, blinked into focus, then looked about. She lay in the back of the car. A cul-de-sac of 2-story houses loomed outside, quiet with barely a light on, the moon hanging low, shimmering off their slate roofs. Anna stretched, cracked her neck, then shook her face. "How long were we driving? I can't believe I fell asleep." "It's the adrenaline. Big come down. Happens all the time. I took the long way here. Had to avoid prying eyes. That last one definitely got some flashing light attention. But this is it here, Miss Crawford." Levi pointed out the side window to a silhouetted figured light by the glow of a computer screen, typing into the small hours. Anna sucked her teeth, sniffed, pulled the lapels of her jacket, then checked her gun. Dirty bastard was probably on some chat site, pretending to be a teen girl or some other filth. "You ready?" "And willing," Anna answered, shuffling and gently closing the door. She caught sight of her reflection, frazzled and blood-specked, and an idea fizzled into being. She grabbed her arm, dragged her leg, and hobbled towards the downstairs window. It didn't take long for him to spot her. Taking off his glasses, he twitched the curtains. "Mister, please," she whimpered. "I went off the road, round the corner. I need—" Holding up a hand, he dashed from the room. A porch light sparked to life, and the front door opened. "You okay, lady? What the hell?" He spun, roaring, as the bullet tore through his shoulder. He tried dragging himself back across the perfectly manicured lawn, but it was useless. The hammer fell. Back of the head, he jerked, spasmed, fell still. It was done. She smiled, running back to the car. She could already feel Jimmy in her arms. Her sweet, innocent little Jimmy. The macabre cabaret garnered no interest this time around, and she stared straight at Boss Man when the canvas bag was removed. "My boy," she said, not a request, placing the revolver on the table before her. He smiled, swirled a glass of red wine, drank, then nodded to no one in particular. Eternity stretched out before her, biting her lip, fingers drumming the scarred tabletop. She couldn't quite believe it. She'd finally found him. Two great bulking necklace forms lumbered from the shadows, a metal box held between them. It thudded onto the table before her. Boss Man grinned, tapping its top. Giggles simmered behind her as she lifted the lid with trembling hands. Tears exploded, lip quivering, shoulders shaking. There was no mistaking it. Those cheekbones, large, hollow eyes, even the skin dried and rippled as it was. She touched his forehead, sweeping away a dirty blonde fringe, and kissed him. She pulled his cracking and snapping corpse into her arms, his jaw swinging open in one last horrific scream. Falling to her knees, she pressed him close to her chest, where he belonged. Why didn't you tell me?" she spluttered between sobs. "I said you'd see him again. Here you go." Laughter rose like hyenas on the hunt. The unwashed bodies pressing coffin close around her. "It's okay, honey," she whispered to her son, rocking back and forth. "I got the bastards. I got them. 2 of them, anyway," Boss Man sneered. "What?" I said there were accomplices. I didn't say all 3 were. You humans are so eager to jump to your worst instincts. Oh dear God. Oh God. He can't help you, Anna. We have a long-standing arrangement. He finished the wine with a lip smack. "Why are you doing this to me? You're monsters, all of you." Boss Man leaned forward. Didn't I say I've a soft spot for the innocent? Poor Jimmy suffered because of you. You're the monster who left her 6-year-old son alone in the park whilst you scored some smack, she wailed. I'm clean now. It seemed pointless to try to explain. It wasn't going to bring him back. What the fuck are you? She roared. You know already. You've always known. And now you're mine, forevermore. To a cacophony of laughter, she lowered Jimmy's remains back into the metal box, slowly closed the squeaking hinge, said goodbye, and gave up. Her finger wrapped around the trigger, the barrel cold beneath her chin. Perhaps in death she could be a better kind of mother. See you soon, son.